Hey, Nutty, can you throw me my capture card? Okay, so I gotta be honest. I already unboxed the card. There was no way I was gonna take a chance on actually breaking it by doing that little stunt in the beginning. So yeah, I was actually gonna perform an unboxing for you guys and make a video out of it. And it was gonna be a big unboxing and then in-depth review. And then I realized there's not a whole lot of value in unboxing a capture card that's at least a year old, if not older. So all the footage that I recorded for the unboxing, I'm just gonna go ahead and plug that in right here for a little bit of B-roll and let you know what you get inside the box. So here's what you get inside of the box. You obviously get the capture card. You get an Elgato magnetic looking pin or something like that. I don't know, I'm not really gonna use it. And you get an additional bracket that's actually a little bit smaller than the bracket that comes on the card already out of the box. And this is for different cases if you're having trouble mounting it. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. And then of course you're gonna get an HDMI cable with the capture card as well. But I mean, let's be honest, pretty much every one of you probably have 5 or 6 cables hanging around the house, if not more. So yeah, so that was the unboxing experience. I'm actually pretty happy. I called my buddy The Real Flock and he talked me out of making an entire unboxing video. So thanks, buddy, I appreciate it. But now let's go ahead and talk about the card itself. So this is the Elgato 4K60 Pro Mark II. Now what that means is obviously there was a version that came before this. So the version before this was $400. It was about 2 to 2.5 times bigger and it had a back plate on the back. This version no longer has a back plate. It is significantly smaller and it only costs $250. Now I say only $250, but $250 is a lot cheaper than $400. They clearly found a way to improve their manufacturing process and they were able to bring you the same card with 1 or 2 new features and a smaller form factor at a cheaper cost. And honestly, it's things like that that make you happy to be a consumer. This is the part of the video where most YouTubers would be like, this video is sponsored by Elgato for sending the capture card over. Unfortunately, that's not me. I had to pay for this out of my own pocket. So Elgato, get at me. My DMs are open. So technically speaking, this is my second capture card. My first capture card is an external capture card also made by Elgato. I believe it's the HD60S, maybe the S Plus, but it does 1080p 60 FPS. And honestly, it has been a wonderful capture card. But the problem is it is an external capture card. And so what that means is that when I take my mirrorless camera and run it through the card so that I can live stream to Twitch, there's a slight delay between my audio and my video. 800 milliseconds to be exact. Now the good news is OBS actually has a built-in feature that allows you to adjust for any type of offset between your video and your audio. And so I was able to go in, add the 800 millisecond offset, and then my video and my audio was able to sync up and everything worked out perfectly. And so now when I'm live streaming on Twitch, everything works out fine. So anyway, with all the different offset issues, Elgato actually advertises no latency on this card, and it makes perfect sense because it plugs directly into your motherboard. And so when I saw that advertisement, I'm like, that's what I want. I want no latency. I want everything to be seamless. I don't want any delay between my video and my audio, and I don't want to have to worry about adjusting for an offset. As a bonus tip, my buddy The Real Flock actually purchased this exact same capture card earlier this year, and he has already confirmed for me that he doesn't have to adjust for an offset when he goes live on Twitch either. So I'm pretty confident it's going to work for me as well. So if you're a live streamer on Twitch and you're having some offset issues, this card could actually solve that problem for you. But maybe you're not a live streamer on Twitch. Maybe you're a content creator on YouTube, and maybe you just want to be able to capture a little bit of gameplay from your Xbox or your PlayStation or your Switch, and you want to be able to upload it to YouTube, and you're looking for a really good capture card to handle that. Well, I can already tell you, without even plugging this thing in, this capture card is going to be able to handle that for you. In fact, you could probably save the money and go with a cheaper capture card like the one that I have, which is an external capture card, and still get the same results and do 1080p 60. Although if you're looking for a capture card that can actually do 4K, then you're definitely going to need to consider this guy because it literally advertises 4K 60. So that's pretty awesome. I guess the only question is, can your console actually output 4K 60? Got him! Now maybe you're part of the PCMR. For those of you who don't know, console boys, got him again, Kobe. PCMR stands for PC Master Race. So maybe you're gaming on a PC and you're getting the higher resolutions, the higher frame rates, the higher graphics, the higher everything. And you want a capture card that can go toe-to-toe with your PC and that can capture everything that you're seeing without compromise. Well, you're in luck because the Elgato 4K60 Pro can do all of the following. It can capture and pass through 4K60, 1440p 144, and 1080p 240 hertz. That is nothing to joke about. That is actually quite impressive. Now, I will tell you one thing really quickly. If you're considering buying this capture card, there is a competitor by Avermedia, and it's the exact same price, $250, and it can only capture 1080p 60, but it does support pass-through of 4K 60. However, it does have a secondary HDMI input. So if that appeals to you, one device that has two inputs on it, that may be the card that you want to go for instead of this guy. But let's talk about the testing and see what this thing can do.
One eternity later.
All right, I'm back. It's been probably about 10 or 11 days since I filmed that last portion of the video that you just watched. And I've spent all of this time doing a whole bunch of testing on this capture card. And unfortunately, this card has given me a lot of issues. And because of that, it's taken me forever to get this video completed. Now, I will say this, overall, the card is still great and I can still recommend it. It definitely has some benefits, but it's not quite as good as I initially thought, and we're gonna talk about that. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about the pros of the card. All you have to do is pop it into any open PCIe slot on your motherboard, and boom, you're good to go. Couldn't be easier. In terms of capturing console gameplay, equally as easy. If you want to capture Xbox or PlayStation footage, all you have to do is take an HDMI cable, run it from the output on the console into the input of the capture card. Boom, you're done. Again, could not be easier. Another really cool benefit about this capture card is the fact that it allows you to do multi-recording. So what this means is that you could take the same source, so a console or a camera, for example, and you can record it 2 times at the same time. Now what that means is that you can take your camera and run it to OBS and live stream to Twitch, and then you can record that, and then in the background you can also record your camera a second time in Elgato's 4K capture utility software. Now the reason you may want to do this is because you may want a second copy of your live stream, but without any of the overlays and without any of the channel points or alerts for any number of reasons, really. The fact is, you can use it for whatever you want, but it's really cool that Elgato allows you to do this, and most other capture cards actually do not allow for this to happen, so this is actually a really cool benefit. Finally, the biggest benefit by far for me personally is the fact that this capture card has officially eliminated any kind of delay inside of my stream, and so now that means that my audio and my video are perfectly in sync without the need of a manual offset adjustment inside of OBS. Let's test it out. This has radically improved the quality of my content creation. It's one less thing that I have to worry about. It's given me peace of mind. And now as a streamer on Twitch, I can stream with more confidence. So if you're looking to fix any kind of delay issues inside of your stream, this capture card could potentially help solve all of those problems. And now it's time to talk about the areas of the card that could definitely use a little bit of improvement. And so the first thing is the fact that while the installation was simple, the card does not fit my case perfectly. So while I can mount it into my motherboard and I can actually connect the HDMI cables, the card is actually not long enough to reach the back of my motherboard where I can actually bolt it in. So unfortunately, the card is actually quite loose inside of my case. So anytime I unplug a cable or plug it back in, I lose connection. I have to restart the PC, remount the capture card, and start the process over. So it's quite unfortunate. That's not necessarily Elgato's fault, but it is something that happened to me, and I just figured I would share that with you. Another area where this card could improve is the recording area. Unfortunately, no matter what resolution you're recording in and no matter what your gameplay settings are, you can only record in 60 FPS. So the card does advertise that it will pass through and capture 240 Hertz, 144 Hertz. And it's true that you can record in 4K 60 or 1080p or 1440p, but you can't record in 1080p at 240 Hertz. You cannot record in 1440p, 144 Hertz. And that is something that was a little bit misleading or confusing when I first purchased the card. I thought capture meant record, and unfortunately that is not what it means. So just know if you buy this card, you're only going to be able to record in 60 FPS. And finally, the final area of improvement for this card is the recording of PC gameplay. Unfortunately, this capture card is not good at recording PC gameplay, and I cannot recommend it. It took me multiple days to figure out how to even get the capture card to see my PC gameplay. And then once I did figure that out and I hit record, the quality of that recording was absolutely terrible. You're watching footage right now and you're able to see all the skipping and all the screen tearing that's going on. Clearly, this is not a usable recording. I did figure out that if you cap the monitor and the gameplay at 60 FPS, it does radically improve the quality of the recording. But even then, you still have some screen tearing and you still have some skipping here and there. It is still not good enough to share with anybody online on any platform. So I cannot recommend in good faith that you use this capture card to capture PC gameplay. The exception to this rule is that if you had a second PC and you were treating it like a console, then maybe perhaps this card would do a better job. But if you're only using a single PC and you want to record the gameplay that's on your single PC, I cannot recommend it. Well, that's it for this video, and that concludes my review of this capture card. I hope you learned something useful, and if you did, please hit that like button. It goes a long way in helping me out. It took me a long time to perform all of this testing and to make this video, so I really do hope you appreciate it. And if you're new here, please consider joining the eRock on Deck community by hitting that big red subscribe button. We would love to have you. And until next time, eRock out. I think I've done some thinking about it, and I think you guys, now listen to me. Like, you know, I'm not really a fan of. Oh, got an achievement, boys! Like, oh my gosh! Max, I just got an achievement! That's like my first actual Xbox achievement. I don't know how long. Achievement. Who said that? Oh, I miss achievements popping up. That just gave me so much pleasure.